The USF IRB and QAQI programs have created general guidance videos to provide our USF and affiliated research community with guidance on a variety of research topics. One such topic is records retention. To support comprehension of the information, we will define essential terms and then list out essential questions and answers regarding effective records retention. Let's start with some common terms and definitions. Retention periods. Institutions and regulatory bodies make specific determinations on how long research records, including the original signed consent forms, should be retained. This period is determined based on the type of research, potential future use of the data, and legal requirements. USF IRB requires that investigators maintain their human subjects paper and digital research records, including the original signed and dated consent documents, for at least 5 years after completion of the research. If the research is HIPAA regulated, the investigators are required to store the original signed and dated HIPAA authorizations and consent documents that include HIPAA authorizations for at least 6 years from the date of their creation or from the date on which they were last in effect, whichever is later. FDA and GCP research retention periods are a little different. FDA regulations state that an investigator should retain applicable FDA records for a period of 2 years. However, 45 CFR Part 74.53 also requires awardees retain research-relevant records for 3 years from the date of submission of the final expenditure report, or for awards that are renewed quarterly or annually from the date of the submission of the quarterly or annual financial report. Investigators are encouraged to review and reference these federal regulations for details, but keep in mind, USF record retention requirements are 5 to 6 years. So when you maintain your research records according to USF policy, you will be compliant with these federal regulations. If your research is non-FDA, GCP, or HIPAA regulated, the IRB may be able to approve the digitization of research records, including signed consents. Contact the IRB to discuss your research storage options. Data security and confidentiality are policies that often include guidelines on maintaining research record security and confidentiality during the retention period. This may involve measures such as secure storage, restricted access, and data encryption. The USF IRB affirms that investigators are responsible for outlining in the protocol the information to be collected as part of the research and the measures that will be taken to protect the confidentiality of the data while the research is being conducted, as well as when it is completed. If investigators and study teams plan to store protected health information or sensitive PII in box, they are asked to contact USFIT to set up their study box folder before storing data on the cloud. I mentioned sensitive PII. This information includes, but is not limited to, social security numbers, medical information, insurance information, student information, and information about sexual behaviors and/or criminal history information. Basically, it's information that, if lost, compromised, or disclosed, could result in substantial harm, embarrassment, inconvenience, or unfairness to an individual. Notification and approval is another common term. Some policies require researchers to notify relevant authorities or seek approval before destroying research records. This is often the case when the research is subject to ongoing monitoring or regulatory oversight. USF IRB affirms that investigators are responsible for familiarizing themselves and the study team on the notification and approval requirements of the overseeing body of the study. Destruction procedures is another relevant term regarding record retention. Destruction procedures may involve shredding physical documents or securely deleting electronic files. There are usually specific procedures for the proper destruction of research records at the end of the retention period, and this information should be included within the protocol. Now let's review some common questions and answers that support researchers in comprehending effective research record retention. What are electronic records and electronic signatures? Electronic records are generally defined as a collection of information, text, images, data, and any other media that is created, edited, stored, managed, and distributed digitally using computers. Usually, these records hold the same information as hard printed records. The only difference is that the record exists digitally. An electronic signature is considered with the same authority as a conventionally legally binding handwritten signature, but instead of being on paper, is a digital symbol within a computer system. What defines electronic record keeping? The core principle for Part 11 is when researchers choose to use records in electronic format. But if a device is used to print electronic records and the staff rely on paper records to perform research-regulated actions, Part 11 compliance is not needed. You see, in this case, study teams are simply using an electronic record to create a paper record. If the facility uses hard copy records for distribution amongst the study team, but ultimately digital records are used to perform research-regulated actions, chances are the FDA will deem this as electronic records. Whichever method is used, it's important to document all details and the steps involved in a specific document or SOP for regulators and/or inspectors to review. Should I keep a detailed audit trail? Should you keep a detailed audit trail? Short answer, yes. Incorrect records, no matter how insignificant the issue might seem, can lead to bigger problems as well as open the door to more comprehensive investigations. Also be aware that audit trails are mandatory in cases where users of electronic record systems are expected to create, change, or delete regulated records. Researchers should be diligent when recording times, sequence of events, and all entries into the applicable record-keeping system. What are older legacy systems? If you're using an electronic record system that's been in place before August 20th, 1997, chances are you aren't required to follow FDA's 21 CFR Part 11 requirements. The agency has stated it intends to exercise discretion if electronic record systems are operational and compliant before this date. However, If you are using a legacy electronic record system, and this system has been updated after August 20th, 1997, Part 11 controls will need to be applied to both electronic records and electronic signatures. How do I store consents and research records? Investigators must store original hard copy data and documents, including original signed consent documents and electronic data, in a secure location as described in the IRB approved protocol. Be aware that consents and research data should not be a part of the participant's medical record. Not only are research records proprietary, but they also have a different confidentiality process. In some cases, with IRB approval, the consent may be stored alongside the participant's medical record, especially if the research involves access to or use of medical information. But in most cases, this document, as well as research records, should not be a part of the participant's medical record. It is recommended that USF study teams store signed consents and all other research records and source documents within the study Florence electronic system, or a box folder created by USF IT. It is also suggested that researchers keep records in shareable, easy-read file formats. Researchers are responsible for familiarizing themselves with and adhering to proper and adequate hard and electronic research records retention policies and guidelines. They are also required to document and report the disposal or destruction of research records as part of their ethical and regulatory obligations. Let's go over where researchers can go to find support with records retention. You may reach out to the USF IRB and QAQI via email. Also, the Bulls IRB Help Desk via email. The QAQI website is also a wonderful resource. There are guidance documents to support the conduction of your study. The information that you will find can help you develop quality practices and support study team training efforts. I hope you learned a lot about records retention. Thanks for watching.